The Ball family is back in the headlines, and no, it's not because of the reality TV show, and it's not because I am annoyed or angry with LaVar or the Ball family. Actually, I'm quite impressed. So, to be objective about it, I think what LaVar Ball is doing with LaMelo Ball and his response about LaMelo Ball getting his own shoe sticks it right to one of the organizations that I find more obnoxious than LaVar Ball himself, and that is the NCAA. So, because LaMelo Ball, and by the way, in March when the Big Baller Brand shoe started to, gain headlines and traction, there was the question of, does it affect a player's NCAA eligibility? And before going down a ridiculous rabbit hole of how absurd NCAA eligibility rules are when it comes to money, if you strip away money from the equation of NCAA eligibility, grades, priors, arrest record, character, anything, they will do everything in their power if you are good enough at the sport to make sure that, we'll skirt around that little line right there. They're like, you have a 1.1 GPA. No, just bump that up a little bit to a 3.1 GPA. We got to make sure you're starting in the Rose Bowl on Saturday. Got to make sure you're playing in the Sweet 16 on Sunday. Got to make sure you're still able to take the field or take the court for the two sports that make obviously the most money for the NCAA, football being like way up here and then basketball being like somewhere in there and then everybody else below it. So in this case, when it comes to eligibility, there probably is a major issue because money is involved, right? If it had anything to do with anything else, it wouldn't. They wouldn't really, they'd say they might care. It could be a violation. Some reporters would dig out some reports, but it wouldn't be enough. But because LaMelo Ball is going to be profiting, and LaVar Ball and the Ball family, but specifically LaMelo Ball, who will be an amateur by the time he gets to college 2 years down the road, LaVar Ball's response, I thought, was perfect. We'll worry about it when we get there. Who cares? If he can't play, then he can't play. It doesn't mean he'll stop working out and getting better. He added maybe in 2 years they'll change the rule and he'll be able to go to the NBA straight out of high school. All right, so let's say LaVar Ball doesn't send LaMelo Ball to college, even though technically I think it's LaMelo's choice. Regardless, let's say it's an NCAA violation. Well, there's a bright side to that. It gives, in some instances here, LaMelo leverage in a certain way, because the one and done rule sucks. Just flat out is a garbage rule for college basketball. Ever since it was instilled in part of I believe the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, and they couldn't send kids from high school to the NBA, which even though the sample size was small for those who were able to make that jump, it still was an option and it didn't hurt college basketball. So in this case, if LaVar Ball were not to have LaMelo play at the college level, you got to think that this would be very good eventually for negotiations for the next collective bargaining agreement to say, hey, let's bring back the jump rule, the high school to NBA rule. Because my feeling is when it comes to the NCAA as a non-for-profit industry, a not-for-profit organization where all of their money goes back into the school systems to make sure these guys get good college educations, which has always been not 100%, but like 78% bullshit. Actually, we have some graphics that I threw in for the NCAA and where they get their money and yada yada. Now, you guys know some of this at this point. The NCAA football is way up at the top of the pyramid because of TV rights deals. It's over 80% of their income, and same with basketball. I believe it's something around $800 million made from just NCAA basketball. That is a lot of money. And we're not going down the paying college athletes route. This is just in specifics to LaMelo not playing in college, because why should UCLA be able to profit off somebody who's already such a massive brand name, right? And you can't compare some of these guys to LeBron James. LeBron was the complete package. LaMelo's not even close to what LeBron James is. But in terms of just knowing who that person is, yeah, LaMelo started to hit that height. He has. All the Ball brothers have. LaVar Ball has. All of them, because LaMelo carries over 1 million Instagram followers. And LeBron came at a time where the cover of Sports Illustrated was kind of that 1 million Instagram follower moment of, holy God, this guy is known across the land as the next coming of Michael Jordan. Again, we're not comparing skill, we're just comparing notoriety. and just how much the reach is. So for LaVar, it's a smart business move for him to kind of stick it to the NCAA and say, you don't have the power here. Again, I think I mentioned in an earlier part of this clip, I'm not a fan of LaVar Ball. There's things that I don't excuse him for. The comments about Kyrie Irving's mother, which are some of the most heinous things I've ever heard on national TV, didn't get checked, didn't get confronted about, aside from the occasional tweet from some players to back up Kyrie Irving. And it just goes by the wayside because, oh, he's entertaining. So I don't agree with how mainstream media propped up LaVar Ball as this guy who can sell ratings. It was a very, very quick rise and a very not so quick fall because he's still kind of at the top there. That's what I don't like specifically. I also don't like that he sells the shoes for $395 and says that if you can't afford them, you're not a big baller. Do you forget demographically who's buying basketball shoes? At a youth level, you want the kids to be able to play in your shoes. It makes sense why guys like Paul George's shoe, I think, is what, $85, $90? Once it hits on sale, it gets even lower. Kyrie's drop as low as $110. Kobe's on sale can drop as low as $60, $65 to play in. To play in, not the collector's issue Air Jordan 1s, which I wear a whole shit ton of. I'm talking about shoes to play in. So there's things I just never will agree with about LaVar Ball's rise to the top and the blueprint that he followed to get there. But this is something that I absolutely 100% could side with and I agree with. And I think is a wonderful thing to check the NCAA and make sure they know that, hey, maybe you don't have all the power. And if that's the good that can come out of this, by all means, I'll support it. Send LaMelo to China for a year to bring Big Baller Brand over there. From the business side of things, it's a win-win because it's not like if LaMelo played in China, all of a sudden his draft stock drops. Ben Simmons barely played at LSU and probably looks back. I think you mentioned one of his, either maybe the Bill Simmons podcast or one of the NBA podcasts I was listening to just off the top of my head, that playing overseas for some of these guys coming out of high school is a good thing. And I agree. Different style of game, different pace. The one-and-done system, 9 months is bullshit. And the product of college basketball will eventually go up if they fix that. So a whole array of things based on 3 sentences, but still worth the time, worth the point. I am not a big baller. I'm like a medium-sized baller. So comment below, like, favorite, subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.